talking Memphis wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
Hello again, everybody, and hello, friends. Welcome to season 2024, episode number 8 of Talking Memphis Wrestling. Big show. Ronnie Crowder, how are you? My best friend, Hendersonville, Tennessee, from the Eddie Marlin family, the great number one producer in Memphis wrestling history, Randy Dandy, Randy West is in the house. Reese Lewis in the house. I appreciate Reese being here. Mike's here and Greg Wayne's here and all kinds of things happening. For the first time, I believe he will confirm or deny. I think it's the first time in the year 2024 he's been on the set. He's been on this show. Want to welcome back. Been busy with basketball and doing his job that makes him his money. Welcome to the show. First take, Chris Ellis.
Oh, man, yeah, first time to be back. Happy 2024, everybody, 2 months after the fact. But, yeah, it's great to be back. The wrestling world's been turned on its head since I was last here. And so I'm excited about being back on. And now that basketball's over, I should be on more often. So it's looking forward to a great show today.
What's the first thing in your mind besides what's been going on, your first take of the day?
First take of the day here in Arkansas is it's spring early. Is the weather not awesome? 70 degrees every day. It's beautiful. Ready for school to get out. We got 4 more months to go. So anyway, that's what's on my mind now. The weather's awesome right now in Arkansas.
All right. Julie Yates, Easy Money is in the house, and Michael Butler is in the house, and Andrew Calvin Jr. is in the house. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to travel here on the 8th edition of the 2024 season of Talking Memphis Wrestling. We are about to get uptown. We are going to go to Alabama. We are going to go to the largest population base near Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama is big, not too far away. Broadcast legend and Hall of Famer want to bring in for his first take, Michael St. John. Hey, Mike.
He does the best intros of anybody I know, right, Coach?
The best. He pumps you up. He puts you over big.
He puts me over big. Hi, Randy. Good to be with you. Thank you for the invitation again.
First take from Michael St. John. A lot going on, certainly, since we have last talked. We've got 2 hours to talk about it, but we need a first take right now from Michael St. freaking John.
Well, I was coming down the steps, and I got a text from our friend Conrad Thompson. I'd actually been in Huntsville today and went by his office at First Family Mortgage, and it was empty. You were gone. They moved. So I texted him and said, "Where are you?" And he's moving into a house about 15 minutes from me in Guntersville down on the lake. They've been working on it for a while. And we started into this and got sort of into the sidetrack of wrestling. And I text, and I'll read you what I text. And I said, "I hate that this Vince, is blowing up. The last thing the business needs right now is a black eye. Things were going pretty well, like good. And it's like the Republican Party in Auburn football. When things are going good in wrestling, give them 5 minutes and they'll screw it up." And he laughed at that. So anyway, I've been on with Conrad. But to a sad note, and I know we make note of when people that were involved in Memphis wrestling and were a big part of Memphis wrestling passed from us. You guys realize that 32 years ago yesterday, we lost Tojo Yamamoto.
So we covered that real quick, Adam. Click over to the Power Pro folder and get those 2 graphics we have of Tojo. We did cover that at length yesterday. That, of course, we'll see that later in the show today. That is the great drawing by Jerry Lawler and Tojo. What a damn artist. He is, and as Michael holds up, and we have a graphic of that too, that is wrestler Yamamoto found dead of gunshots. So certainly,
That was in the Memphis Commercial Appeal newspaper, by the way, and quotes extensively our good friend Dave Brown.
all right, that is a great deal. What was the date of death of Eddie Gilbert? Because it was in February. I believe it was 1995. Can somebody do a quick Google? Because Brad says, rest in peace, Tojo, who passed away the 19th. And I was thinking Eddie Gilbert might have been around February the 9th, but somebody help me out, help a brother out. February the 18th.
Wow,
We
good job,
lost
Greg.
hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert, and I did go to that funeral as well. Hey, I got a couple of hot takes, and I will ask you both the question as as we get to this particular part, and I have to see as I find my notes and see exactly graphic number 2600. Graphic Adam number 2600. I talked about this yesterday. I've done a lot of things, a whole lot of things. This I did Saturday, Chris and Michael. First time I ever have done this. Graphic 2600. I went to my stomping grounds. I went to Jonesboro High School, the home of the Hurricanes. And I will tell Chris, open the roof, let it rain, give them hell hurricane. And the picture right now is where I went Saturday. It was the very first activity in the brand new on the JHS campus on Main Street. It's the new activity center gym, and it's just beautiful. They're doing volleyball, they're doing ROTC, and Jonesboro now, Valley View does, and I think Nettleton might as well. Not 100% positive on that. It was the first amateur high school wrestling meet that I've ever been to. Lose the graphic, and I'll tell you the story because I was upstairs. I was looking over the balcony. I was watching, and all of a sudden a tap. Ooh, that's different. Anyway, somebody patted me on the shoulder and said, "Officer, this ain't his type of wrestling. We need to check him for a chain." Dadgum principal, I'm freaking out of school 44 stinking years, and Brad Falk almost had me thrown in jail, Chris Ellis. You ever been to high school wrestling before? Do you have a high school wrestling in the Southside School District? And if you do, I didn't know nothing about it. I was lost. I stayed 15 minutes and got out of there. But I liked the building. That's why I went, to see the building, not so much the wrestling. But I was over.
Well, we do have wrestling here at Southside. We had 4 state champions last year, in fact, in our classification. We've got a potential to have 3 or 4 more this year. When I was at BB as athletic director, we started wrestling, and we were looking for a coach. And I told them, I said, I can coach wrestling. I said, I can teach them how to come off the top rope, do body slams, the whole 9 yards. They said, Coach, we're not talking about wrestling. We're talking about wrestling. I said, I don't know anything about that. So BB's got a really good program where I used to work. And then we have a good program here where I'm at currently. And it's really exploded. There's a guy named Greg Hatcher out of Little Rock.
I know him, Greg the Hammer Hatcher.
Do you know him? Yeah. Anyway, his son actually played football at Alabama for a year or two. But anyway, Greg helped get wrestling started in the state, and it has exploded. It is doing really well in the state of Arkansas.
That is cool, and I didn't know that. It was exciting. They had a big crowd. The building was beautiful. Your experiences. Have you ever called amateur wrestling, Michael?
No, I slept through it one time, though. No, I'm like Coach. I have been to several matches. Arab High School actually has one of the premier wrestling programs in all the state, all classifications 1 through 7A, and have been state champions 3 out of the last 5 years. We did lose our wrestling coach last year, and one of the football assistants who had a background in Greco-Roman took it over, and he's done a good job. We had one state champion this year, and I think he was in the 120-pound division. But in the past, they've won the team championship, and we've had the heavyweight champion and all that stuff. But it's a great, I have been told it is a great sport for teaching discipline on how to play other sports as a result, and also a great sport for strength and conditioning. And I can certainly see that, but I really miss the hair pulling.
Mr. What?
Hair pulling.
Hair pulling.
Okay, yeah, I do too. So do you agree with that, Chris? Good for conditioning and other sports?
Yeah, well, let me tell you something else it's good for. Michael's dead on, but there's one other characteristic it's good for. Competitiveness. You're out there on a mat, it's man to man. And I just remembered this. When I was at BB, we had a girl, Destiny Nunez, won the boys state championship and was featured in Sports Illustrated in wrestling. I just remembered that. But it teaches great competitiveness. There's nobody to blame. A teammate didn't make a bad pass. It's on you one-on-one to get after it. And it's fun to watch them compete.
I agree with that.
One other thing before I preview this big show, because Michael sent freaking John, question for you. You like food, correct?
Just finished eating.
Chris Ellis, you in Southside, Arkansas, from Jonesboro, Arkansas, you like food, correct?
You bet. Everybody does.
We have a new restaurant, been open about a month, went last week, went again today. That new restaurant is called, there's one in Paragould, there's one in Poplar Bluff, now one on Main Street in Memphis, Main Street in Jonesboro. On Main Street, you cross about 3 stores down after you cross Huntington, headed to the bridge, Chris, to let you know where that is. So me and you'll probably meet there. It is great, about 100 different types of lemonade, but the food is amazing. This was my lunch tonight, people. 2620 is the graphic. This is a Las Vegas all-nighter burger. I removed for the picture the tomato, but this is a burger. This is cheese on the burger. This is a fried egg. And look at those beautiful, beautiful, beautiful onion rings. Man, Lemonade Grill on Main Street. Anybody in town, anybody pops in around here, call ORH, text ORH, and we'll go eat at the Lemonade Grill. So, Chris, we'll go to you first. What do you think about that food?
Oh, yeah, it looks great. And I love local places that aren't non-chain. No matter what town I go to, I ask a local where to eat. If it's a non-chain restaurant, and hey, I just thought of this, RH. Look on my hand. I haven't been on since this happened.
Okay, you are a married man.
My wife and I go find these places sometimes and go eat at them. We'll take a road trip, go eat at some small place. But anyway, I just thought I hadn't been on since I got married. So I thought I'd mention that as well.
Well, congratulations to you. We'll let Michael see that picture of that food. I know he just ate, but he didn't eat anything like this, I don't think. There you see the Las Vegas all-nighter. What do you think, Michael St. John?
It looks fabulous. The size of those burger patties looks tremendous. I mean, that's 2 or 3 inches of burger patties under that. That's fabulous. And Coach, I will echo your sentiments. My wife and I, Mel and I, do the same thing when even when we go to a Nashville or to Louisville or down in Mobile a few weeks ago when we were down for a wedding. We don't look for the chain places. We look for the places that are local yokels. And I'm a meat and 3 guy. You can ask anybody in the business. I love a good meat and 3, just hometown, homegrown food. And that looks like it's called the Lemonade Grill. Is that correct?
Yes. It's fantastic. Wow. We're the 3rd of the series. It started, I believe, in Poplar Bluff. One's in Paragould, and now it's Main Street in Jonesboro. And I've got my nephew and his buddies took me last week, and I am hooked. I'm telling you, I'm hooked. And I'll tell you guys right now here on Talking Memphis Wrestling, lot to cover. Now, instructions to the panel here, because we want to give the audience a chance before we end up making the save here. We are going to have photos of the day. When we start that, we are going to let the audience type out real quick who they think it is. Some of them are easy, some of them not too easy. We're not going to spend time. So if you know who it is, type it immediately. So this will be our pictures of the day, and I think you will enjoy that. I want to give a little credit for that segment. If you put up graphic 2612, get a lot of my stuff, the cards, and also the pictures today from the Facebook page from Ed Harrison, 2612. His Facebook page is called Matt Memories. Ed Harrison for cards and photos. Also, I want to put up number 2605, graphic 2605. This is Kentucky Wrestling Memories, and they have great stuff as well. Folks, we put the disclaimer up earlier in the show. I'm not as good as I once was or should be about giving credit to people. A lot of this stuff is my stuff. A lot of the stuff is not, and we certainly want to give credit to where we find this stuff for sure. So we will have that segment on pictures. Video segments, we have 4. Last week, you weren't here, Chris, but Michael remembers. And by the way, Pat should be here at 8 o'clock if we're lucky. He said that last week and couldn't get away. But we will do part 1. We showed you, Michael, part 2 of the Primetime Sunday with Tom Snyder, the expose on Memphis Wrestling. We showed the Jonesboro clips. Would have loved to have you on the show. I'm sure you've seen that, Chris. We'll show part 1 this week, and I'm really excited about that. Have you seen that before, Chris?
Yeah, because remember, if you probably forgotten, I called you to ask you about the ladies beating on the mat.
Evelyn Hale, Alma Jones, we showed that last week. Also, because I want to give credit, Al Tuttle, this next video that will, or one of the videos we will show is Amazing Wild Brawl in Evansville, Indiana. I was booking, my idea, was involved in it a little bit physically, almost got killed, could have been killed in this video we'll show you. Al Tuttle found on YouTube, sent it to me and said, I love to show it. It's the wildest thing. He thinks it's better than the Tupelo Concession Stand Brawl because the Tupelo Concession Stand Brawl was first. I would not say that, but it was real good thanks to Al. Also, S.K. Lee, he's the one that wasn't happy too much with a comment Michael had a few weeks ago, but that's okay. We're freaking going to tell our opinions on this show. Nobody else is going to defend anything but me. I'm going to defend it. This is a opinion show for sure. But even though S.K. Lee kind of knocked Michael, still I'm nice enough to take his recommendations when they're good ones. And it's a great one, a fantastic one. He wants to know about the fans of Memphis Wrestling, and we will show more of that in the primetime footage. Also, do you remember Miss Lily Butler, Michael?
Yes, I do.
In Memphis at the Mid-South Coliseum?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember Miss Lily?
I do not that I recall, Randy. I do not.
She is a lady that sat, older lady that sat on the front row, always had the cane, and she would swing that cane at the wrestlers all the time. She is a character. We'll go back to 1983, and we will see Jerry Lawler on the Jerry Lawler Show interview Miss Lily Butler. So, SK, we're doing that just for you. More next week of that same subject. So it's going to be a 3-parter. City by the Bay, many blessings to you. Ronnie in the house again, and Matt Memory is one of the best nostalgia wrestling groups out there, and I appreciate it very much. And Bo, I missed your question. What does Bo's question say? The last one on the screen.
He's recommending a restaurant that when I was talking about Mobile, he was talking about Dick Russell's, which is world famous in the Bay City. So I've been there many a times, my friend.
All right. Now, that's another person besides Chris, besides me, besides Adam, besides Michael, besides Matt. Bo James knows some food. You guys want to, I'll let you call the shot, Michael. You want to start with some of the pictures? I told you the 3 videos we have. You call the shots. Where would you like to go here? The pictures, or go with one of the videos, the Brawl, Primetime Sunday, or Miss Lily?
Hey, go with the videos. I want to see Miss Lily. I remember her. I remember her because of the cane and a couple of times that I came to the Mid-South Coliseum for a taping on a Monday night. She was an incredible fan. And I think all the cities in the South had that handful of fans that we just all knew and recognized. I know Chattanooga had them. I know Louisville. Oh, my God. There were some great fans in Louisville. And, of course, in Nashville, one of the biggest fans in Nashville was an ex-wife of Jackie Fargo. So there was a lot of great fans throughout the area.
Very good. Shane, in the archive, I've done shows on Tojo before, and we'll try in the next few weeks. I'm kind of ahead of myself on story ideas for this show, but we'll try to cover Tojo soon. I still have a lot of those videos ready. This is a pack show. This is from the long-running Jerry Lawler show that happened on Sunday mornings at 11 o'clock. It was actually recorded every Saturday after the wrestling show went on the air. I remember one time when Lawler was out of the country or out of the sick or nursing an angle or whatever, I co-hosted the show different times. This one, he interviews great wrestling fan, Miss Lily Butler.
Hey, somebody else that I'm always looking forward to seeing on Monday nights at the Coliseum is a special fan who has been going to the matches for years and years, and she's a friend to all the wrestlers, and she never misses a match. So her name is Miss Lily Butler, and we talked with her. We think you'd enjoy hearing from her. Lily, the first thing I wanted to know is exactly how long have you been coming to professional wrestling?
Ever since they first started wrestling in Memphis.
And not just the Coliseum, you're talking about ever since it started in Memphis.
In Memphis, I've been going to.
How many years would you estimate?
Oh, I don't know. It's been a long time.
Is that back when it was at Ellis Auditorium and everything?
Yes, and it wasn't in the auditorium. It was in a little field called Pottage Field.
Is that right? Well, that goes way back before my memory even.
That's right, before you was born.
Well, that's probably right. Well, then in all those years, you've seen just about all the wrestlers come and go over all the years. Who's some of your favorites been?
All the good folks that are wrestlers.
Then like any of the bad ones?
No, I don't like no wrongdoing. I want clean wrestlers, what I used to see.
Well, that's good.
Eddie Marlin used to wrestle him, and Jackie Fargo, Thomas Jones, them all, and Hood West and them. They was wrestling then. They didn't count on changes and things in that.
Well, what do you think about Jimmy Hart?
Wring his neck off.
Would that take care of it?
I can't stand him.
You've actually hit him with your cane before, haven't you?
I have done it. And I hit him when it got on you that night up there. I started up in that ring because I was so mad I didn't know what to do.
Well, somebody told me that you were in the hospital at one time, and you actually snuck out of the hospital at wrestling on a Monday night. Is that true?
No, Mr. Lance announced that I was in the hospital.
Oh,
that's somebody gonna tell her because I told the nurse to call him.
Oh, I see.
And she heard Mr. Lance talking about me. And she said, yo, you know we got a wrestling fan here. Turn that TV on so she can hear. Because Mr. Lance, Miss Bella, do you know Mr. Lance? I said, yes, God, that's my favorite. I love him. I said, yes.
You mean you like old Banana Nose? I mean...
Yeah. Now, you could call him that.
Okay. All right. No, Lance is a pretty good guy. What about Dave?
What?
What about Dave Brown?
Dave Brown, all right. I see you don't mess with it. And
Eddie Marlin.
yeah, until he get rid of Jimmy Hart.
We're gonna work on that, aren't we?
I wish I wasn't sick. I could referee better than them referees.
Well, okay. Lily, we want to thank you for being on the show with us, and we want you to keep coming for years and years back to wrestling.
Yeah.
She is a great, great lady, and she's there every week. And I'll tell you what.
Classic video, courtesy of the Jerry Lawler Show, and I believe we have a graphic. TV5 is where that aired, and we'll give a little love to our favorite TV station if Adam puts the graphic up there of WMC TV Channel 5. What did you think about Miss Lily Butler? We'll start with you, Michael.
Incredible. That was a great interview, and she was so well spoken. And I would think she was in her 80s or maybe even close to 90 when that video was made. That was an incredible video piece. And by the way, if you're going to give kudos, if you're going to give a shout out to Channel 5 WMC TV in Memphis, I've got to give their signature logo. Remember that, the riverboat?
Do it again. Do it again. We were all.
The riverboat.
That is for sure, man. You never know what you'll get unless you watch Talking Memphis Wrestling. We do some stuff around here, by God. Pat, or Chris, what did you think about Miss Lily? Great interview.
Once I saw her, I remembered seeing her before. I didn't know that was her name, but yeah, it was a great interview, and we've talked about it on this show. The passion and the love people had for it. I mean, I tell people all the time, if you didn't live it, you don't get it. And they don't. Like growing up, like RH and I did, and Michael being in the business, those people, I mean, you lived it. We fought at school over, Saturday night at the Legion Hut. On Monday, we'd be arguing about next Saturday who was going to beat who. I mean, we all lived it like Miss Lily did. It was just the passion and the love for it. It's unbelievable.
It really was. It was fantastic those days, without a doubt. Now, I think what we'll do right now is we'll show one more video, and then after the video, we'll get into the pictures of the day. This is part one, and Michael got a little mad, and I did too. And at the time, we were lied to, or I was a kid then, but the wrestling company was lied to. It was an expose. This is part one. Show part two last week when they featured Jonesboro. Wish you'd have been here. However, this features Memphis and a classic wrestling fan by the name of Mary. This is a good little piece, even though I don't like what they're doing about it and wouldn't have showed it myself, obviously, but now the toothpaste out of the tube, and we'll watch. From Sunday night, prime time with Tom Snyder, here we go with part one.
On TV3. Wave TV Channel 3, Louisville.
Up on one and announce.
Now from New York, this is Prime Time Sunday with Tom Snyder.
Good evening, everybody. On this, the beginning of Christmas week 1979. A bleak Christmas for the 50 Americans in our embassy in Tehran. Here at home, clenched teeth when people think of Iran, increasing frustration, the feeling that nothing dramatic, nothing tangible is being done to get our people home. The politicians trying to run against Jimmy Carter are even more frustrated. As we enter the election season of 1980, they're frustrated by their own self-imposed gag rule. Except for a brief outburst by Teddy Kennedy, which seemed to hurt him badly in the political polls, the candidates have refrained from criticizing the president while the crisis continues. Question, is that good or bad for the country? We'll cover that issue tonight, and we have other stories too. Here are some samples. Hollywood wrestling is alive and well all over the country, but it is living especially well in the South. And where you will find Mary Spry, front row, red blouse, silver whistle, every Monday night.
I love my wrestling more than anything. In fact, I'd rather go further than any place I've ever been in my life.
As recently as 1945, there were about 86,000 one-room schools across the United States. But since then, the rush to the cities and the consolidation of country school districts have wiped out most of them. Of the 1,000 or so that survive, nearly half are in one state, Nebraska. This is the District 9 school near West Point, Nebraska. One teacher with 12 students in 6 grades.
If I wouldn't have got that from Mom, then I would have had brown. Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
Here is the Gee Whiz Christmas gift of the year. A satellite dish for your own backyard. Expensive, but thousands of people have them. Use them to watch pay TV without paying.
So you need and in?
To watch things that were never meant to be on the air at all. Some of this watching is illegal, but the odds are they'll never catch you.
All that and more for Primetime Sunday on December the 23rd of 1979.
I'm a mileage nut. I checked all the figures, and I got a Ford Fairmont. The 4-cylinder mileage is even higher than last year's. And do they have a 6-cylinder with standard 4-speed transmission, no...
In professional wrestling, there are good guys and bad guys, clean fighters and dirty fighters. The rule book gets thrown out the window most of the time, but when good confronts evil, things usually turn out the way they're supposed to. That's not real life, of course. That's pro wrestling, or Hollywood wrestling, as it was called back in the 50s, when guys like Gorgeous George got people hooked. And Americans have been watching ever since. 25 million paying customers a year, watching faithfully, but not watching too carefully.
It's Sunday afternoon at Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. And 10,000 people have come to see a show they've seen before. An old battle between good and evil. Hollywood wrestling is alive and well all over the country, but it is living especially well in the South. The wrestling company working Lexington on this day finds business is good at every stop on the weekly circuit. This is Memphis, where Monday Night Wrestling is an institution, and where you will find Mary Spry, front row, red blouse, silver whistle, every Monday night.
Let's get some. Don't take candy off shelf you ain't gonna buy. I work every night, 3 to 11. Monday night is the only night I have off. They don't ask me to work on Monday night because they know I won't do it. If it cost me my job, I wouldn't do it. Oh, tell Ruby come by see me. I love my wrestling more than anything. In fact, I'd rather go up further than any place I've ever been in my life. I don't go out honky-tonkin', don't drink. Now, I shoot the pinball machine once in a while, but I'd give that up if I had to. They say I'm crazy. Go up there and say it's silly because it's all fake and all this stuff. That's fine with me. But if I like wrestling, that's my hang-up.
Take Hector out first.
The one who decides who's next is a promoter named Jerry Jarrett. He controls 30 wrestlers and 8 towns. And he's convinced there's a demand for more.
The wrestling fans are the forgotten masses. You get into the breakdown and you find out that they're very much middle America. It's that segment that doesn't go to the Saturday football game. And most of our fans are at home and they follow us on the television.
Yeah, we got everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown right along ringside, all ready to go with another big week, Championship Wrestling. And by golly, we've got ourselves a Championship Wrestling.
And all you have to do is check your rating books and see a 70 share of the audience in Memphis watching wrestling on Saturday morning, and you see where they are.
Now step on him, Steve. Stomp him. Pop him now. Pop him. Pop him again.
There you go. And Michael will go with you first. I'll let that run a little bit. Let's just speak before we speak of this series. You see the commercials you saw in the control room going on the air. Tell us a little bit about that opening segment. You saw the news coverage of the story they were covering, Tom Snyder, the whole deal, because this, not only do we cover Memphis wrestling history, we cover Memphis history, and we like to cover, just go back and remember good and bad of history, because there's both. So what did you think about that little touch that we showed some of that Primetime Sunday before we got into the segment about wrestling?
Obviously, their affiliate, the NBC affiliate in Louisville, Channel 3, Wave TV, provided the video. And it is telltale. I like the idea because it did set it up nicely, because it gave an era to what you were about to see with the video. And I think it added and enhanced to the video. I think that was well played. But it's amazing. I'd love to have that car. That car would be worth a lot of money right now, wouldn't it not, Coach?
I don't know, Ford Fairmont. I don't know if it'd be worth very much or not. And I heard him say 4-cylinder. I don't know how old a lot of our audience is, but that wasn't common back then to have a sedan with a 4-cylinder that got great gas mileage. That all started happening about that era of time. But the other thing that fascinates me was the news media back then. How many times did they say the date and the year? On Sunday, December 23rd,
79.
That was a big deal back in that era of time, marking those events by the date. It was significant in the media back then. Like that, we never hear that now. It's not that big a deal.
And the
Hey,
person
you hear it on this show. You hear it on my show. I identify today every time. A throwback.
And then one thing I want to add. Outlaw Ron Bass was in the video. Fellow Arkansas State University graduate and fellow Northeast Arkansan. Just FYI.
Now, I want to have Michael help me cover this, as Team Hales is a very big part of this show. Adam's buddy from Somerville, Tennessee, Derek May, has a question that Michael is going to read, then help us answer. Michael?
Well, first of all, just FYI, I was trying to make a point. You made the timestamp thing, the time and date stamp. Do you know the national media personality that made that a common thing back then?
Walter Cronkite.
Walter Cronkite, exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, the question from Derek is, was there an different age bracket back then? Because now it's like males 18 to 34 to be the biggest wrestling demographic. I think the local wrestling, the territory wrestling, I think, was much more centered, not as much demographically based, but fan based. And a fan could be like myself growing up 10, 12, 13 years old and still be into it. And so could Miss Lily at her age. And I don't think that wrestling actually honed in on a specific demographic. I think what happened when wrestling went national for the second time ever in the history of television with the Hogan era, I think what happened is it became a family-oriented event. And then when Vince Hollywoodized it again, taking the Gorgeous George era and maximizing all of that and everything was added to it, I think back then, at that point in time, it became a demographically driven media. And I would say right now that wrestling, as it stands right now, I think there's a different demographic that follows the WWE nationally than there is the AEW wrestling folks. And I think because of that, I think AEW strings more towards the male with all the blood and guts and thumbtacks and all that stuff. And the and WWE is still they got that family thing, but I think there's more females that enjoy wrestling the WWE way, and the part of that may be the players themselves being good-looking men and well-built and all that, versus AEW. I think AEW is a different demographic than the WWE, and I hope I didn't go too far on that, Randy, but that's sort of the way it is.
No, I wanted you to answer the question, and it's a fair, good question, and we appreciate that, Derek, to ask the question. I will say this. Back in the day, different times, Louisville, Kentucky, when Jerry Jarrett first got hot with Tojo Yamamoto, you've never seen the young ladies that come out in the fashion they did there. And whether it's Bill Dundee, whether it's a young Tommy Rich or a Paul Orndorff or Rick Morton, Robert Gibson, certainly Stan Lane, Steve Kern, man, that's the Jerry Lawler was popular with the women. And so I think the Memphis wrestling audience had more percentage basis women than any wrestling audience. And I speak for the whole territory. I'm not just saying Memphis, but Michael, will you back me up for Birmingham and Chattanooga?
I will definitely back you up for both Birmingham and Chattanooga. And the only other, and I went to wrestling matches in the Northeast when I was working in Hartford, and went to wrestling matches in Phoenix, and went to wrestling matches in Los Angeles and St. Louis. And I will say that the audience makeup in Memphis was much more female oriented. Now, it wasn't the majority, but was female oriented, especially for the TV matches. And then Monday night, they, like you said, they dress up and dress to the nines and come on out. It was interesting in that clip of Rupp Arena when they were showing the crowd. I thought the crowd there was much more that 25 to 54 demographic, at least what we were showing on the Tom Snyder show, than what we were seeing normally in the weekly shows in the territory towns in Memphis wrestling.
Alan, real quick, I will say your comment that you haven't watched WWE in years, to me, it's not as good as it was during the Attitude Era and even the PG-13 era. I think, what do you think? 2 years? Would you say 2 years? It's must-see television most weeks. I think the WWE in the Triple H era of creative driving the ship most of the time the last couple of years, I enjoy what's going on in the WWE now more than I have in a long, long time. Do you agree with that, Michael?
Absolutely. And Triple H, if the more that he's involved in creative, the more it's going to be, in my opinion, from what I've seen of him in the past, more of a throwback to territory wrestling with the angles and the way the matches. Last night, I don't know if you saw the finish of the main event. It was classic. It was a Jerry Jarrett classic ending to a wrestling match.
So,
Uso. Okay, go ahead.
Let me set it up for you a little bit. And I did not watch the match. I watched while we were on the air. I had the Cody Rhodes match to open the show with Drew McIntyre, and that was a Memphis type of finish as well, too. And that was a good match, and the crowd seemed to be responding. The main event was a typical Memphis heel and Gunther against Jey Uso. Have no idea. All I know, there was interference involved. There's some shenanigans, and that Gunther won. Explain that match.
Well, and they had a bunch of false finishes, and it's getting near the end of the show. And Gunther misses a move. Uso wraps him up, hooks the leg, gets the count 1, 2. And as the referee's got his hand up, the bell rings. And you're going, time limit? What's going on here? And under the mask, there's a man a masked man reaching over the back of the barrier to the ringside bell, and he's ringing the bell. And as the camera turns to him, he throws his mask off. And it was Uso, the other Uso. That was Jimmy
Solo.
No, that was not that the solo thing. He did the taped thumb to the throat earlier in the match.
Okay.
But at the very end, Jimmy Uso rings the bell.
Yeah.
And stops the count. And then it turns around. Gunter takes advantage of it. When Jey Uso wants, what's going on? There's his brother yelling at him, "You're never going to win a match or win a championship as long as you've turned your back on me." He's giving his brother the look. And then Gunter does the roll up 1, 2, 3 and keeps the title. It was a typical Memphis finish. The people popped. And it would be just like we've seen it in the Lawler-Dundee feud. We've seen it before. It was one of those surprises. Where in the hell did that come from endings? And I think it was classic. And my kudos, whoever wrote the finish or whoever came up to the finish in that match, absolutely perfect, because now it sets up brother on brother for WrestleMania, and that's what's going to happen.
And that should be very interesting. The piece on Primetime Sunday, Chris, what was your thoughts on Miss Mary? What was your thoughts on the footage and the whole segment that we saw, or that part of the segment that we saw?
Well, it's kind of two takes. There were a lot of Miss Marys and people like that back in that era. And one thing that I think people don't understand today is there were 3 channels and television went off at midnight. People worked in the field and stuff in rural areas in the Mid-South all through the week, and then usually till 11 o'clock on Saturday when they went and watched wrestling. So their options were more limited. So there were no professional sports in Memphis. So those were the professional athletes that everybody looked up to. So all demographics watched that. They were all drawn to that because that was the stars. Other than Elvis and the musicians, those were the stars of the Memphis area. There were no baseball players, football players, etc. The second thing is that I'm surprised that the TV station affiliated with the wrestling company would be able to help get footage to help expose it. The behind the scenes, the fact they were in the dressing room in 1979 with Jerry and Lance going over stuff and wrestlers dressing in the background. I mean, I went to the matches my whole life. I was around RH to matches. I never went in a dressing room until RH took me in my 50s. Like that was, you didn't go in there. So the fact that that happened in 1979, to me, is amazing that Jerry Jarrett allowed that to happen, frankly.
I'm sure, and we talked about that last week, Michael, I'm sure Jerry big time regretted that decision.
Without a doubt. And he got mad about it. And I don't blame him, because so many times, I mean, back in those days, this quote unquote investigative journalism had just become the thing. And the whole thing was, let's expose whoever, it started with Nixon and Watergate. Let's expose whoever's doing what to whatever. And sooner or later, it got down to wrestling. The John Stossel thing with David Schultz sort of was the premier piece there. And I saw David right after that, and I said, I'm glad you knocked the shit out of that guy. But anyway, I think that was a sign of the times and part of the times. Unfortunately, here we're looking at this. This is 2024. We're looking at this 46 years, 45 years later. And dadgummit, if the worm hasn't turned, the world is round for a reason. Everything that goes around comes around. It's come around again. And now we've got expose. I mean, people on, I don't know how much national media you're watching it, but friends of mine are sending me cuts and videos and every daggum thing else on the Vince McMahon thing. And it's like, to the world, it's shocking. But to us in wrestling, especially us old guys, we've seen this game before. It happened in the 50s. When it came off the DuPont network. It happened again in the era we're talking about, 79, 78, 79, 80. And then now it's come around again in 2024. But again, it's in that investigative journalism thing is the hot number right now. So everybody's into it.
We are going to start a new segment, and we have our audience. We're going to let Chris be quiet and Michael be quiet for about 10 seconds, because we're going to let you guys answer who the photo is as soon as it hits the air. Write it down, and then we'll go with Michael and Chris, and we'll talk about each wrestler. So again, thanks to Matt Memories and Kentucky Wrestling Memories for this, and we are going to start. And Michael, nobody will get this. You might. I did not get this. I'm thinking Chris will not know this, and the audience will know Jackie Fargo. That's all. We won't know the second person, the interviewer. I think Michael will know. 2602 is what we're going to look at graphic wise. The fabulous Jackie Fargo. This is Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA. Bo, don't answer this because I told you on the phone the answer to this. So do not answer this question. We're looking for the audience to answer this question. And this is the hardest one of the bunch. The hardest one of the bunch to answer. The fabulous Jackie Fargo. And nobody from our audience has answered this question. So we'll keep the picture up. We'll go to Chris Ellis with his guess on who the announcer is interviewing the fabulous one himself, Jackie Fargo.
I have no idea, RH. Absolutely none.
How about you, Michael St. John?
It's not Jack Simpson and it's not Gil Green. And those are the two guys that were doing doing Nashville wrestling when I first started watching. And this is about the time that I started watching. I don't think it's Ralph Emery. It looks like, and it's not a former wrestler. It looks like an announcer from one of the TV stations or even the Grand Ole Opry, but I cannot recall the name. It's not Don Green, who also did some announcer. Is it Jim Kent?
Yes. Who the hell is Jim Kent? Not manager Jim Kent. You're exactly right.
No, Jim Kent was a guy on Channel 8 that became, in fact, I think he was a sports guy, and he did ring announcing at the fairgrounds, or it actually started at the Hippodrome. And I remember him vaguely. He was there before I got to college there in 69, but he was stiff as a collar that he's wearing on his shirt. He was not a very TV oriented, familiar face.
Congratulations to Michael St. John. He gets
with
that
help from
right.
Ronnie Crowder. Let's give Ronnie some help because Ronnie was right there simultaneous with me.
All right, Ronnie, I didn't see that. I was so excited. Jim Kent is that person for sure. Ronnie says he was the program director at WXIX-FM at one time. So where was WXIX, Michael?
WSIX-FM, and it was in Nashville. And they used to run a show on the overnight show, and he was the program director of WSIX. FM, and it was a beautiful music station at one time, and they ran a show at night called the Dolly Madison Show, and it was a 6-hour overnight show that played a million different genres of music, and Dolly Madison was this fictional character. It was filmed in Memphis and filmed by the people at Pepper Tanner Studios and was syndicated and sponsored by the Holiday Inn Corporation. And it was like a 6-hour commercial for Holiday Inns. And the Dolly Madison Show was syndicated all over the country on a lot of beautiful music FMs back then.
Read what Adam Dunn, who has done research, and in your private chat, read the research that Adam done, if you would, Michael, right before we get to Pat, who is arrived. We'll have Pat in a minute, but I want you to read Adam's research of Jim Kent, and we'll show that picture again as you read that.
Okay, you want me to read it out loud, obviously?
Yes.
Okay, Jim Kent sat behind the microphone for WSIX Radio as an 18-year-old rookie announcer. Kent, known for his deep, mellow voice, hello there, finished his final shift as a disc jockey for WSIX FM 97.9 at 2 p.m. Friday, full of emotional memories and a lifetime of radio. And then it cuts off of radio, and a lifetime of radio, maybe. And then now I remember hearing Jim Kent. Jim Kent went away about the time that WSIX flipped to the first ever top 40 oriented country station, top 40 formatted country music, and home of Jerry House in the Morning, the House Foundation.
That is cool. Well, this is show number 8 of the 2024 edition of Talking Memphis Wrestling. This is Tuesday night. We started at 7. This is the 20th day of February. I did that just for you, Chris, by the way. We're documenting when this show is, and we are going to travel. And I would say we're traveling to Birmingham, Alabama, but I don't know if we're traveling to Birmingham, Alabama. I think he was in Phoenix. He's been all over the place. He will give us a result of a basketball game, so we can tell by his face as we pop Pat Trammell onto the show, because he was a referee, or he was keeping the scorebook for a tremendous attempt or a tremendous opportunity for his hometown basketball team to do something they'd never done before. Pat Trammell, welcome to the show, and you don't look real happy.
Well, I'm not real sad. It was the final 8. My Altamont Knights were in the final 8, which I don't know. I believe they've been to the final 4 once that anybody's aware of, but they're really good team, came together, a lot of good kids. So I'm sad it's over, but one thing that makes me very happy is I'm glad here to be with my friends, and hi Julie and Ronnie and Al and PJ and Michael and Chris and URH, and just really happy to be home.
Glad you're back with us, and you came in and you saw our new segment, Photos of the Day. We have the fans first guest, then the panel guest. Adam was right. Adam Dunn has done some research, and he's found a picture of Jim Kent, not the manager Jim Kent, of the Bounty Hunters. This is the announcer, Jim Kent. And that's why, folks, I have the best. Now, 99% of the pictures that's been loaded today, I load. The videos, most of them, I load. But when we're spur of the moment, late breaking news, there is nobody busier. And Pat, we're showing that picture, the first of our photos of the day. Jackie Fargo and Jim Kent, are you familiar?
I'm obviously familiar with the fabulous one, and I have heard of Jim Kent, but I don't know that I've ever seen him live in action.
Okay, now remember, this is not the Jim Kent manager.
No, I know the radio Jim Kent. Yeah, the radio Jim Kent.
I think Jim, we lost Jim, I want to say back in the late 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
I had never heard of that Jim Kent at all. So
well, did he ever do TV, Michael?
He did. He did some TV. He never did, to my knowledge, he did the ring announcing. I don't think he ever did the play-by-play for any of Goulis's shows, except maybe unless there was a situation where he just had to have somebody at the last minute. But I do know for a fact that at times he did ring announcing, and with that booming voice. You know, back then we had guys like Johnny Addy in New York, and the other big voice guy, that the heavyweight championship of the world, that kind of guy. But that was the type of voice he had. But he was very stoic. It was a big voice, but he wasn't a very excitable character.
Read the latest on the research, Michael, that Adam has posted in private chat.
Okay, I'll have to roll back to it because I was answering something there. Let's see. Where am I at here? Okay. In 1952, television came to town, and Jim Kent became a man for all seasons, serving as anchor, doing commercial announcing, documentaries, and children's programming host. Jim Kent briefly, I love this. Jim Kent briefly portrayed Bozo the Clown on TV, but was better known for his pirate captain on the kids show Captain Crook's Crew. Do not remember him at all. Jim Kent died at the age of 70 on August 29th, 1993. Back then, the Hot Kid Show, and I was raised on it because we had, the cable TV here in Huntsville, was on Channel 4, WSM TV. They had the afternoon show with Happy A Clown and who was the guy, a guy that actually was famous in Nashville. He was one of the announcers on the Grand Ole Opry, was the host, and Happy A Clown was the clown that just had the horn, and they would show old Three Stooges clips, and it was, you just had to know, it was campy as could be. And I, as a kid, wanted to be on that show so bad, but by the time I got to college and at Vanderbilt, the show had gone away and I was too old to be on the show.
Very interesting stuff. Pat, I'll tell you the new feature, the photo of the day. I'll show a photo, then our panel and myself will be quiet, not give it away, give the audience opportunity to type in their comment on who it is. The first one was hard, nobody got. Then I went to the panel. Michael eventually got it after guessing 2 or 3 people. And this next one is going to be real easy. This is graphic number, Adam, 2603. 2603. You guys get quick on the keyboard as you write down, type out, tell us who this is. Frank Seaton, you should know. Ronnie Crowder, you should know. Don Bash, you should know. There's a lot of people out there. Of course, if y'all don't know, Chris, all 3 of the panel members will certainly know both of these guys. So we're giving you about 10 more seconds to write down who this is. And then if you do not know who this is, I will tell you. And Frank Seaton was the first to guess. Yay! Though you are wrong. You are wrong on this.
Not correct.
He's not right. Yeah.
You are not right. I am sorry. I just saw the last name there. You are incorrect there. So we'll give it a minute, another 15 or 20 seconds to somebody to get the right answer there. If you would have gone just with the last name, you would have been right. But now we need.
There we go.
Betty Butler. Miss Betty, ring the bell. She got it. So we'll come off that and we'll go to Pat Trammell first, memories. And I will say this real quick. And I said this earlier and was talking to Adam about this. In 1975, when Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler got on the outs, and Lawler was fired by Jerry Jarrett after the busiest year in the history of Memphis wrestling, Lawler got a job, Georgia Championship Wrestling and Championship Wrestling from Florida. Eddie Graham put a mask on him, teamed him up with Don Green, and they were the masked superstars. What do you think? What do you know? What's your thoughts on Don Green, Pat Trammell?
The Greens were a prominent heel team in Birmingham, and I was terrified of them. When I think of the Greens, I think of Sam Bass for whatever reason, and just that somehow I have a notion in my hair of slick back hair with grease and the goatees and the kind of guys you would run in my neighborhood in a VFW with about 6 beers down them and a pool stick. Bad asses, in other words.
Your memories of Don Green, Chris, but before you do, is Al Tuttle watching the show today? Because I have a video he requested.
Yeah, Al said, hey.
Okay, Al Tuttle is in the house. Al, we have your video in just a little bit. We'll get to the video after we finish up this segment that's going to be very popular, and we have some good pictures. Your thoughts on Don Green, Chris?
Well, I always liked the heels, so Don Green was one of my favorites. Al had become more of a manager as I'd gotten old enough to remember, and Don teamed with some other people. So he teamed with the Scorpion, maybe it was Frank Morrell, I don't remember. And
Don Bass.
That was Don Bass, okay. And at one time, Don Green was Mr. Wrestling in Memphis.
Yeah.
So I was a Don Green fan. I really liked him. I remember when he passed away, I read his obit and all that, signed the guest book because I was such a fan of his.
Yeah, Don Green was just such a nice man. His daughter is on Facebook. I'm friends of him. This is young Don, and this is Don at the end of his life. And this is the work of Adam Dunn, the greatest producer there's out there, folks. And this is why two things. This is a live program, and we go where the show leads us to go and where the audience and the panel leads us to go. And then we have a producer that's right on top of things. I did not load these pictures. He found this picture of Don and of later in his life and currently. Your thoughts, Michael St. John, on one half of the Heavenly Bodies tag team, Don Green.
Let's make everybody aware that Don and Al Green were not brothers. They were put together as brothers, but they were not brothers. I've got a great
I've lived 61 years and I didn't have to know that.
Okay. Well,
Al Denny was his name, not Al Green.
Yeah. Yep.
Al what?
Al Denny.
Al Denny.
Okay.
In 1977, now I take that back. Early in 1978, maybe this time of year. Nick Goulas called me one day at the radio at Kicks 104. He said, "Boy," he said, "Don Green needs to see you." And I had just started doing commentating for Mr. Goulas. He said, "Do you know Don?" I said, "No, sir." I said, "I know him as a wrestler, but I don't know." He said, "Well, he owns Green Furniture down on 8th Avenue. He said, he wants you to come by and see him." He said, I advise you to go by and see him." So the next day I was in Nashville. I had done some stuff for the radio station. I was going to head back to Gallatin, and I come by 8th Avenue, and I'm right there by Nashville Sporting Goods and right there in Commerce Street, and I see Green Furniture. And I said, "Well, Mr. Nick told me to stop," so I stopped. So I walked in, and this guy comes up to me, like the picture, the color picture that we just saw. And he says to me, he says, "You're Michael St. John, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Green, I am." He said, "Pleasure to meet you." He said, "I have two things for you." He said, "I love your commentary." He says, "You're the first one that knows anything about wrestling that Nick Goulas has for a commentator since me." First thing he said to me, word of honor. Then he said, "I want to buy some advertising on your radio station." I'm like, "Whoa, I'm not the sales guy." He said, "You are today." He said, "I got $200. And he said, "I'm going to give you $200 and you just write me a commercial and put it on that radio station of yours." And he gave me $200 cash. And I took it back to Mr. Bledsoe, Ronnie Bledsoe. I gave him $200 cash, and I said, I need to write a spot for Green Furniture in Nashville. And of course, Ronnie grew up in Nashville and knew all about Green Furniture, and said something. I think his mom had bought some furniture one time down there. But anyway, it was your old-fashioned furniture store. He sold everything from a couch to a dryer and a dishwasher. And I'll never forget that. But he came to the matches a couple of times after that, and I got to talk to him in the dressing room. And the thing that always amazed me about Don Green, number one, if you ever watch any tape of him and Don and Al Green working, they were consummate heels. You're absolutely right, Pat. These guys would scare the bejesus out of them. and that was number one. But number two, I was amazed at how smart the guy, he had, I don't know if he had a college degree or not, but if he didn't, he deserved one. He was absolutely brilliant and well-spoken. And Randy, I don't know if you've seen any interviews with Don Green, but Don Green was as well-spoken of a wrestler back in the day as anyone you would ever come across.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. So that picture was Don Green and Jerry Lawler, later to be the Masked Superstars. And then continuing, and the panel will hold their opinion here as we will go to 2604, graphic number 2604. And Adam, if we could get that up on the screen as well. And who is this, people? As I would bet money that Pat and Michael will get all three of them, and Chris will get one of them. BC Collins, Michael Hayes, and Terry Gordy, that is exactly right. So we need the third member as Frank Seaton says, the Freebirds. We've talked about the announcer many, many times. Bo James is banned from answering this question. Yes, Ronnie Crowder. That's the second one you got right. Ronnie Crowder, you got it. Ronnie Crowder says, oh, no, Adam just corrected that. Try again. You're half right, Ronnie. You're not all the way right. You're not all the way right. Again, you got the last name right, the first name wrong. So we'll give it just another second or two.
There we go.
All right, you got it. And the prize, you've got two. You got two. We're working for a prize. The person and somebody, whether it's Adam or Chris, somebody keep up with it. So far, it was Ronnie W. Crowder is in the lead with two. The winner of this contest later on, the winner, the person with the most, will get a complimentary, that word means free, a complimentary Living the Dream Randy Hills book, personalized and signed and shipped to you. So far, Ronnie is in the lead for that one. So real quick, let's do this. We have a lot more to go and a video to go. Rapid fire. Your thoughts, Chris, on the Freebirds with Harry Thornton.
Well, I'm disappointed you didn't think I would know them. I knew all three, just for FYI. 2, Terry Gordy was 16 years old in that picture.
That was my question.
I just had posted on our little private chat. That answer was actually technically not correct because that was not the Freebirds. That was pre-Freebirds. They were Gordy and Hayes back then, Terry Gordy and Michael Hayes. Terry Gordy, absolutely right, Pat, our coach. Terry Gordy was 16 at the time, lied to get his license. George Goulas took him to the commission office in Nashville. He had a fake ID and got a wrestling license. And Terry Gordy was 16 in that picture. Michael Hayes was 18. And I remember working with these guys. And I'll tell you, of all the tag teams when I first got into the wrestling that were impressive to me in the ring were these two guys. This is a vintage Chattanooga picture. Pat Rose can vouch for that. These are all Chattanooga icons, Chattanooga born and bred. Terry Gordy, I think he was from just over the border in Georgia, but part of the Chattanooga metro. And of course, pretty boy Michael Hayes in that picture. And Harry Thornton, just a legend, both on radio and television at Channel 12 and at WDEF radio in Chattanooga back then.
Pat, your thoughts on that picture?
That is three legends right there. I think maybe Terry's from Ooltewah, Michael.
Is he?
I think so. I think so. But I'll tell you one of the best heel promos I remember as a teenager was when Michael Hayes turned babyface and Terry had a child and Michael had allegedly given the child a silver cup and he smashed it in Michael's face, and it was a great Georgia championship promo. And I agree with you, Al. Terry was one of the best big men in history. It's a shame that what happened with his health problems and ultimately passed
Chris,
away.
what did you think about Gordy and Hayes?
Oh, I was huge fans of both of them. Of course, Michael was the talker, and whoever put Buddy with them to let him work and just let Michael talk, that was sheer brilliance. But Bam Bam was elite level until he had, like Pat said, he had his health issues, and he came back and wrestled, but he wasn't the same guy.
I mean, was he really good at 18, Randy?
Yes, he was
Absolutely
great at 18.
He was a great athlete.
He was Bobby Eaton. He could work. He could work. Let me just go a quick, and somewhere out there, I hope there's a video. There was a main event in Nashville, Tennessee, Wednesday night Fairgrounds Arena. I had the honor of being the caller of the match between Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy versus George Goulas and the Jet Set, George Goulas and Bobby Eaton. Loser leave town. Guess who shined in that match? I mean, it's not the two that just put on and brought down the house were Terry Gordy and Bobby Eaton. Incredible.
No surprise.
I was going to say it wasn't George Goulas.
Do what?
I was going to say it wasn't George Goulas.
Michael will defend George Goulas as he always does on this show. 2606. So we got to be rapid fire with this, folks, and we're trying to give the audience a chance to win the book. So we'll go with 2606, another Chattanooga, and we'll give you the fact the one gentleman is Harry Thornton. Who's the gentleman, folks, wrestling fans, Team Hales, the gentleman in the suit on the left. Then, of course, the other two, the tag team there doing TV in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, all right. Ronnie is in the lead. We will give you the opportunity again, rapid fire, as Todd Alexander is right. So right now, whoever's keeping up with it, it's Ronnie 2, Todd Alexander 1 for sure. So real quick thoughts of this picture. We'll start with you. Rapid fire, Pat.
That's Tommy Rich, Kevin Sullivan, Nick Goulas, and Harry Thornton.
Wrong.
Okay.
And we can't give the credit until we get all of them. We don't have one of them. Ken Lucas is one. Ronnie, Nick, and Mr. Thornton. The blonde guy. Who's the blonde guy, folks? Jeremy has said it. Jeremy has said it for sure. It's Nick Goulas, Tommy Rich, Ken Lucas, and Harry Thornton. So who do we give? There we go. So I think Ronnie is the one that said all of them. If I missed out, I want the team, the panel to correct me on that. I think Ronnie has all three for sure. This seems to be a popular segment. Pat, what do you think of this segment, and what do you think of the picture?
I like the picture. I know Ken Lucas had better runs outside of Memphis, but I always liked his work.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm the opposite of Pat. I was not a Ken Lucas fan. I didn't think he was very good. That's just, but again, I'm a heel guy, and he didn't talk very well. He didn't have much charisma, so he wasn't my kind of guy there.
Well, I'm sure he wasn't Terry Taylor for you, but you know.
No, he was better than him. But I've said it. But anyway, rapid fire, all right.
Yes, please. We're not going to get this all in if we do long answers. Michael, that picture.
A great picture. A love-hate relationship, Nick Goulas and Ken Lucas. Nick would bring Ken in. Ken would work with whoever and put him over, as he put over Tommy Rich in this thing. And then he would say something stupid or complain about his pay, and Nick would fire him. He'd go away for 6 months, and 6 months later, he'd bring him back in. Just the situation.
All right. 2607. Our new segment. Guess the photo. 2607. By the way, Adam got this. We did this whole deal earlier off the air. I'll give you Lance Russell. Everybody knows who that is. Who is Lance Russell interviewing right there? We're letting the audience guess. Al says can't have Chris on without a mention of Terry Taylor. As Scott's Art says Lance Russell and Ron Fuller. So he's the first one that answered that. So he's the first one that answers that. Ron Fuller and Lance Russell. So give the credit there. Somebody please help me with that. Put Scott Art down for credit of that answer. And as we go real quick, all that picture of Lance Russell and Ron Fuller will go Chris, then Pat, then Michael. Guess the photos.
I can't see Ron Fuller. I think of two things. One, he's part of the Welch family, the legendary generation lineage, and then he was a great businessman in this industry, a great, very successful businessman.
Pat?
I thought Ron would be a lot taller than Lance in that picture.
Let's see the picture again. You're exactly right. I mean, I thought Ron was 6'9", and Randy West put his comment on Adam. And you're right. That microphone Lance Russell is holding, and you see the microphone Lance is holding. Then we go full screen shot of me. Full screen shot of Randy Dandy, Randy Hales, ORH. There, it's not full screen, but you can see my microphone side by side with the microphone there that Lance has in his hands. So that's great. Chris, Ron Fuller, then Pat, then Michael.
Yeah, I already went.
Pat?
You know, I agree with Chris. I mean, I do like listening to Ron on podcasts. He certainly was, you know, in the Welch family tradition. He was a great booker and a great promoter for a lot of years.
Michael, San freaking John, tell us what you think of the Lancer and Ron Fuller.
First of all, on your microphone, that Shure RE20, you could use it for a microphone and use it for a drumstick. It didn't matter. So that's number one. Number two is on Ron. Ron Fuller back then. There you go. It won't destroy it. I promise you. But Ron Fuller back then, that was in his early years. He was very youthful at that time. He was 6'8", 6'9", legit. And when I would see him or when I would call a match with him, I always got the impression or the feeling that he had a tough time working with the smaller guys, because you got to realize that most of Nick's territory and most of the guys in Memphis wrestling, Bill Dundee was what, 5'7", 5'8"? And some of the boys that he was working with were a lot shorter, and he had to work down with them. But I think Ron Fuller is what a phenomenal businessman. And Pat, I agree with you. He has a lot of wise wisdom. He has a lot of wisdom to employer. He has a lot of wisdom to share when he's on his podcast.
2608. 2608. We will go with the audience guessing the picture first. And this picture, a young man here. And we'll see who's the first person. This is fun. Don't you think this is fun, Pat?
I do think it's fun. I have no idea who that is.
Scott's Art. I think he's now at 3. No, I'm sorry. Let's see. No, he wasn't. He wasn't the first one. BC Collins was the first person. It is Ricky Morton. Chris, did you know that was Ricky?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely, I knew it was Ricky Morton.
Pat, I was surprised you didn't know, buddy.
Well, I kind of thought, but I thought that's just not obviously him to me.
Michael St. John?
Obviously, Ricky Morton, of course, the son of the legendary Paul Morton, the Bald Eagle referee for the whole Memphis territory for a long, long time.
I think my friend Chris Ellis will love this one because he likes heels, and this was a very good heel tag team. We'll go with 2609, graphic number 2609 on the 20th day of this month of February, episode 8th of the year. And this picture right here, who is this? Man, we'll try to make this a regular deal. It'll be one of those things, me finding the pictures, and you know, I don't have too much trouble finding classic pictures, and I think this is just very interesting. Coming up, I'll give you a hint, and the one after this will be a given. Everybody will get it. The one after that is, I got the one after 2 from now. I've put this on here for one person and one person only, and that's Pat Trammell. Anyway, David Schultz, And who is the first person? Jeff Comstock. Is somebody helping me keep up with who's in the lead here? Jeff Comstock was the first person. We're going with the first person. Am I right, Chris? You like Hills and you like this team.
Oh yeah, David Schultz is one of my 5 favorites. So he's awesome because he's legit. Dutch is okay, but I was a big Schultz fan.
Dutch, I'm not speaking for, I guess I am speaking for Pat. Pat considers Dutch very high up there, and I'm not putting words in your mouth. I guess I am. I think in Memphis wrestling history, do you think Dutch is more important than Dundee, Pat?
No, but I think he's. I think of Lawler, Dundee, and Dutch. I think Dutch is a close third.
No,
He's not in my top 10.
Hang on, wait a minute.
Me neither.
Pat's saying that Dutch is third in the history.
No, not in the history. I'm just saying I liked Dutch's work with Lawler and Dundee.
Okay.
And I think he carried it fine.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were saying he was. I was want to be clear.
So what did you think about that tag team, David Schultz and Dutch Mantell, Pat?
I have not seen them work, but a couple of times on tape. David Schultz should have had a really, really big run somewhere, and I just don't know that he quite ever got the right opportunity. I don't know what it was.
Michael?
Well, he had a big run for Vince and was making big money, because I've heard David say that himself, until he took the fall for slapping the media guy.
Awesome.
And he had a hell of a run for Vern Gagne in the AWA too.
He did. Sure. The thing about him down here in the early years, and I don't know if blackball is the right word, but David did not go over well with a bunch of the boys in the locker room, and did not go over well with the promoters at all. And he was a great worker and a great guy, really just top-notch guy, and I never got it. I'm like you, Pat. I never got why he didn't have the big run down here. But Pat and Randy, you guys are absolutely right. He had a great run with Byrne. He had a great run with Vince. And then after the Stossel thing, I think there was pressure on Vince to get rid of him, and then that's what happened. But as last time I knew, he's got a farm over in West Tennessee and is a happy camper and training wrestlers.
Is that right? I did not know that for sure. Y'all, everybody will get this one. Just whoever gets it, writes it the first, and this is a given, but whoever can type the quickest will be the person that gets this answer. 2610 is the graphic. Yep. As we wait for that to come up, and there you go. I believe this pictures was taken. Is that a Jonesboro picture, Chris? Without
yes, I have this
name?
Picture. I own this picture. I have this picture. And
Al Tuttle gets that answer first. Al Tuttle gets the answer first, and everybody answering. We'll switch it up a little bit. We'll go with Michael St. John first, Pat second, Chris third.
Well, that's Bill Dundee and his I want to be a part of the Chippendales era.
I like the hat.
I love the hat. Listen, Bill was a neighbor of mine right down the street in Hendersonville for several years, and I've told the story of my son Chris and Jamie playing as little kids. And hey, there's not a bigger, better guy than this world. I absolutely love Bill Dundee and always will. And I don't know if I've never said it before. He would make my top 5 if wrestlers of all time, and he is one of the best workers and one of the best promoters. This guy, you talk about somebody come up with great finishes. And back me up on this, Randy Hill. A Bill Dundee finish was different than a Jerry Lawler finish.
It was more detail. And I've looked back, Scott's art, and it was Al Tuttle, the first person, and I'm looking back here, and Adam, if you can help me with with this as I'm going back. Al Tuttle is the first person that got that first. So that is who we're giving credit to. Pat, your thoughts on that picture of Dundee?
I just love the hat. Love the hat.
Chris?
I won that picture from Peggy Bunch when he lost to Lawler. That's how I got that picture. She and I used to argue about Lawler Dundee at lunch every day. So that's how I have that picture to this day in a picture album.
That is funny for sure. As we're coming down to the end of the picture segment, we got one more to go, and I put this picture up 100%. And Pat, you're going to have to not get too excited. You're going to have to not tip it off because we're still in the middle of this deal in this contest. So just be quiet, but your excitement level will be big time on this picture as we show number. Oh no, we got two more pictures left, but two more pictures left. We'll show right now 2611, and this will be the last picture of. No, I'm sorry. It's 2611, and that's the picture there. And this is the last picture of the next to last picture of this contest. So, who is it, folks?
Brad Collins.
I believe Al Tuttle is the.
Brad Collins got it.
Brad Collins, and I think that's not the first one. Brad, we'll start with you, Pat, because you some Chick Donovan, your buddy that tried to con you out of gas money.
I did no, he didn't con me out of it. He big-hatted me with about a $20 payoff. He gave me a 10 to get back to Atlanta from Talladega. I think he's still wrestling down in South Georgia.
That was somebody that I thought had a hell of a lot of talent. Wasn't the greatest worker in the world, but what a look. What a absolute look. No doubt about it in the world. And Adam, if you could go back and before we end the show, if any or who else can do that, maybe Al has time to do it, check the comments and let us know, folks, who is in first place. I did that one for you, Pat Trammell.
Glad.
Dayton says he still wrestles. Your thoughts on Chick Donovan?
I always liked him. Always liked him. And I think, he was one of those guys that could have, in the right territory, had a real heel run. So, Bo says Chick claimed his dog could talk.
No, I never said Chick was all there. I never said that.
I'll tell
If
you,
you like some Chick Donovan, how about you? What did you think about the Chickster?
I can say this. He says his dog can talk. Dang, Chick Donovan could talk. He was a great talker. And we had him. I remember he was in about the same time that Gorgeous George Jr. was in town with Nick. Nick had them both on the card, and they tagged up. And that was a hell of a tag team. And I think it could have gone far. But I don't know. That was back in the day when Nick was being very much influenced by George, and George is wanting to climb to the top. So, who knows? But both Chick Donovan and Gorgeous George Jr. Do you talk about talkers? I'm not gonna vouch for their work, but I'm gonna vouch for their chat.
Very interesting, and that's the last of the contest. Again, a picture we want to show as Michael started his first take, saying that in 1992 on February the 19th, yesterday, and we'll show picture 2613, this great Jerry Lawler drawing of him and Tojo Yamamoto, who we lost in 1992 on February the 19th. We lost Eddie Gilbert on February the 18th. Another great picture. We're not going to guess who it is or what it is because everybody knows. There's no Well, this picture right here is, I wasn't going to go with that. I was going to go with another one, but we will show this picture. Who is this? This is the final guess. This
Jimmy
is
Golden,
the final guess.
Robert Fuller.
Who?
Jimmy Golden and Robert Fuller.
And don't forget, we're supposed to let the audience guess first.
I thought you weren't doing it that time. Sorry. My bad.
Okay. Hopefully you weren't paying attention. We'll give the credit to Richard Hood. We'll give the credit. And Al, Scott's Art is saying he used the brother word against me, and that gets fucking heat with me. The brother word, unless Hulk Hogan says to you, gets fucking heat with me. Anyway, he says on his screen, and he sent me a screenshot showing he was the first person in. So maybe this is not, they're going to fight over a damn book.
But
so maybe that's not a good idea.
Randy, the segment went over. You hit a home run. You hit a grand slam on the segment.
Yeah.
The segment was just got over like a son of a gun, and now I'm freaking hot. Anyway, I want to end with 26-14 because there's no better shot than this. That'll send shivers down your arms, all over your bodies. If he can find this picture of 26-14, Adam, can you not find that picture of the packed Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee? And I don't know if there we go. Who is this in the match? Who is this, Michael?
I want to say it's the Heavenly Bodies and maybe Tommy Gilbert in the match. And
Ricky Gibson, Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Marlin, Bobby Main, Charlie Fulton, and I don't know the person in the middle of the ring with the long tights.
That's Ricky Gibson coming off the top rope.
Right.
Eddie's got him in a face lock.
All right.
I'll tell you that it's just not very clear. It's a great picture. Don't get me wrong. It's just not very clear.
Yeah, I can't see it really either. But I don't have it on full screen.
Randy, I love this segment. I think this is a great segment, and I think this is sort of our Jeopardy. This is Memphis Wrestling Jeopardy with pictures. I love it. Sam Bass in the middle. Bo James says, "I think you're right, Bo. I think you're right."
Yeah, I think it's Charlie Fulton, Bobby Main, and Sam Bass. Is it Tommy Gilbert, Ricky Gibson, and Eddie Marlin? Is that who that is, Bo James? I think that's who it is. And the purpose of that picture is obviously this picture is to show the beautiful Mid-South Coliseum sold out. Next week, we'll continue. If I can find some pictures and I win, as Al Tuttle says, look at that crowd. Al Tuttle said, or Shots Art says, great segment, great idea. I love doing this. And so we'll announce what we'll do next week. We'll have photo of the day contest again. And also we will have the Memphis Wrestling trivia questions. Next week on this show, 5 questions will be asked next week. And some of them I'll get into the weeds with the questions. So trivia next week, photos next week. So far, and this show's not over as we have about 22 minutes to go, but real quick, we'll go with Pat first, then Chris, then Michael. Pat, just talk about what you have liked about this show today that's different.
Well, it's been really good for me to be back and back home. But I'll tell you what, I have liked kind of going through memory lane on the pictures with Harry Thornton and the young Terry Gordy and all that. That's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Michael?
My most favorite part of this show is the crew is back together again. I mean, when all four of us are up and doing this, I just get, it's elation for me. I love it. I feel like we're a band of brothers. And this has been you came up with a great segment. We've talked about some very timely things, but we've also gone back in history. Boy, I think you hit an A+. This is a 99 plus on a scale of 100, Randy. Good job tonight. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah.
One of the things that one week I want to talk about is I want to explain what goes in to this show, the preparation part of this show, and how that differed to how I laid out, put together, wrote, booked, whatever you want to call it, a Saturday morning television show, because I spend a lot of time finding video, a lot of time doing research, a lot of time formatting. Now, the format changes every week because I never know who the panel's going to be. I never know who's going to be here when. I never know what we're starting with. So we kind of decide as we go in the air exactly what we're going to do and where we're going to go. Now, another thing, as Adam will put up the Randy Hales email address, this is the best way for you guys to get to me. I will not miss that. I will maybe miss a Facebook Messenger, but Randy Benton Hales at gmail.com, randybittenhales@gmail.com. And feel free, SK Lee had the great idea of talking about the typical classic Memphis wrestling fans. We cover that. Al Tuttle suggests a video that we're just going to do. You guys have story ideas. All you have to do is email me at randybittenhales@gmail.com. I want to talk about the year 1989. Jerry Jarrett was booking. He went to Florida for a month, so I was booking with Jeff Jarrett helping me. So I got an idea. And what do you do with ideas? You take an idea and make it your own and do something that's drawing money. I based it on one of my favorite things of all time, the Tupelo Concession Stand Brawl in 1979, which was 10 years earlier than this video will see, this classic Evansville amazing brawl. I about get killed in this video. I want you to watch carefully, everybody, and watch this, because I get involved physically in the situation and I almost get killed. It was terrible for sure. Al says hard to beat the original. I will say, although the Tupelo Brawl didn't have a total, oh no, that's tipping off what we're going to see. We're going to watch that video from Evansville, Indiana right now. Al tipped it off.
Took place in Evansville, Indiana. Randy Hales was there doing the commentary on the matches. Randy West was shooting them. Fortunately, he kept the camera going, and let's share now some of the roughest stuff that I have ever seen in all the time. Watch what happened in Evansville, Indiana. Explain to you that this brawl went on for about 17 to 20 minutes. I'm talking a real knockdown, drag-out fight. Now, we couldn't show all of it today, so you will see some edited portions here, but these are the highlights of it. You hear Randy Hales doing the commentary. This is a stage that, like a lot of the Coliseums, the older Coliseums, where you have a stage and then the auditorium out there in it. That's what Evansville Coliseum is. Let's get back to it.
They're going out to the back here. On the back door. Outside. They're going outside ridiculous. Get it back in the ring. Frank, we need some order restored. We need some order restored back here. Come on, Jerry. Come on now. They're fighting back here. They went outside in the Evansville Coliseum. Maybe they just follow them. They brawling from the ring. They're coming out of you now. Come on, Frank. Come on now. Let's quit that. Come on, John. Break this up. Addressing this go fight for a fight here. Come on now. Addressing this go fight for a fight. Come on, Bill. Come on now, guys. They're in the dressing room. Sandwiches and stuff. The building prepared. Oh, now, ketchup or something all over Douglas. This is this table that the people here in the building, I don't know what all they have. Oh, popcorn and all kinds of stuff here in the dressing room. With a Coke can, nails him with it. Hey, that's ridiculous. They have him on the thing. Randy, take this.
You folks in Evansville have been around from around that territory north of the Coliseum, and is lucky to be standing the way those guys. Some of it is not standing now after that one. I really felt bad about Randy Hales getting busted open like that in there when all he was trying to do was quiet things down and settle it down in the dressing room. What a brawl that was. But when it comes to brawling, it's like everything else, friend. Don't mess with Dundee and Lawler because they're going to get their share and a little bit more of it. Tell you what, a little bit later in the week, they got some comments on videotape from Don Bass, King Carl, and the Prince. Let's take a listen to see what they had to say.
Jerry Lawler, Dundee, let me.
And there you have it, Evansville, Indiana. It was Brickhouse Brown. It was Don Bass. It was Carl Fergie. It was Lawler. It was Dundee. I saw Richard Lee was one of the referees there with Frank Morrell. And I don't know if you saw the spot where I was almost killed. I went to break it up, and I was supposed to, and I was in the middle of it, and I took a bump off a punch and from Don Bass, and I was down. Somebody ran into one of those big lockers, and it fell, and it missed my head by inches. Did y'all see that, Michael?
I did, yeah.
I did, yes, absolutely.
That could have killed me, Michael.
That would have been a work. No, I'm sure that'd be a shoot. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was saying, if I was dead, there's nothing working about it.
Let me say this. To me, that video, I mean, if you want a picture of what Memphis wrestling was all about, that video shows it.
What did you think, Chris?
Oh, yeah, I agree with Michael. I mean, that wild brawling type, that's what Memphis territory fans love. That's the fun part of it is you're just captured by it and just sit there. Lance said it went for 17 to 20 minutes. And I mean, everybody would have sit there and just stayed glued to it because they just loved it, you know.
Pat?
Out of control chaos.
I loved Lance's reaction. Man, there's really something there. And I loved, of course, I didn't know, Bo commented here that the Coliseum's next door to a state prison. But Lawler getting the plunger out was just classic. Classic.
And that was a non-working bathroom. That commode. As a matter of fact, you see a table, that's what I used as the office right there. That's where I had my briefcase, and that was the finish room right there in Evansville, Indiana. Next door, there was bathrooms, I believe, in that building that worked. Or I know there was bathrooms in the building that worked. I think there was working bathrooms there. Who knows? Maybe the wrestlers went outside to pee. I don't know. Michael, were you ever in the Evansville Coliseum?
Indeed, I was. What a dump. I was there the night that Jerry Lawler and Kerry Von Erich wrestled, and Kerry came to the ring with blood dripping down his arm.
Bo says that the Coliseum was originally the state prison.
Yes, and I'm sure he's done research. I've been in to Evansville probably 400 times, and I didn't know that either. So Bo, thanks for giving that information.
So Randy, I got a question. When you knock doors down in a building and you destroy their property, what does that cost you as the promoter?
You know, that's going way back. I'm sure it cost something. But the building was about torn down anyway. It wasn't like we tore up a major coliseum. It wasn't like they rented it out to other stuff anyway. Probably nobody. And somebody asked who cleaned it up. I would imagine we did.
Well, just FYI, and I stick by my previous comment, it was a dump. I mean, no offense, but it was a dump. Now, I will say on the destruction of property question, Coach, Linda Marks, who ran Wrestle Birmingham, we were in the Zamora Shrine Temple, and that was a great place, a fabulous place in Birmingham, right off Interstate 459 to do wrestling, have a show, and the place was fabulous. You know, the boys were on either side. It was perfect for wrestling. Well, one night and it was Samoa Joe was there, and he punched through the wall. And we were filming and all, and he punched through the wall. And they got hot, and Linda ended up having to pay, I forget how much money to get it repaired. And we lost the building because of one incident with one guy in a perfect scenario. Great parking, perfect scenario of how to get to the building, great place for wrestling. one punch, one guy goofed it all up for everybody.
Oh, wow.
All right, this has been fun. The whole crew, the team back together again. Yay, much thanks to Adam Dunn for putting everything and did a great job as he always does producing this show. We did the first take. Now, last take, we'll go Chris, Pat, then Michael, then I'll shut her down. And certainly we have 5 minutes left in the show, and I want to get out of here on time. Chris?
Well, two things. The segment with the pictures is great. I think it went over. It's big time. We need to continue to do something like that. And then it's just great to be back. It's great to see all of our people online with us. Great to be back with the crew, and look forward to being back on more consistently, because I just can't say how much I enjoy this. Words don't do it justice. One of the best times of my week every week.
Appreciate it very much. And Adam Dunn hopefully can stick around after the show's over, and we will make sure that we'll look out and see who won the contest. And we will do that for sure. As Reese says, man, this has been the best show ever. Great job. And I'm glad everybody likes the show. Pat, your thoughts, and welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you. It was great to be back, and it's great to see all our friends, Bo. It's always great to see you here and PJ, and I'd say everybody, but I'd miss somebody. But I hope you all know how much you mean to me and how much I have missed you all, including Michael, Randy, and Chris, obviously. But it's a really fun part of my week. And Adam, the work you do is unsung sometimes, but it does not go unnoticed. And thank you for producing and keeping this running smoothly.
Real quick, Pat, I will let you break the news. We're going to make improvements in the next couple of months on this show. Would you like to let everybody know where we're going production-wise on this program?
Well, we're working through Adam, because Adam is a world-class producer, and we're gonna upgrade our audio video system in home headquarters of Jonesboro, Arkansas. And we're looking forward to that and what that'll bring us. We'll have a lot crisper video and lot better delivery, and we're excited about that.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. And so good to have you and Chris back. And final words, Michael St. John, it was good to have the crew back together again. Yay.
We're getting the band back together. Remember that from the Belushi and the movie. We're getting the band back together. And it's great to have them back together. And my sentiments and my echoes to go both what Coach just said and what Pat just said. I did have a little, and this is a behind the scenes thing. During that video, I was gone for about 2 minutes. You guys have heard the expression mice in the attic. I had a squirrel between the floors, between here and I'm downstairs. I'm actually underground in the studio. There was a squirrel in the ceiling tiles between me and the main floor. And the cat that you see on here was going absolutely batshit crazy. If you guys have any idea of how to get a squirrel out from between two floors of a house, I'd appreciate that very much. And love the comments tonight. If it wasn't for that audience out there, we would be nothing. And we love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And Randy, thank you to you specifically for allowing me to be a part of this.
Certainly couldn't do it without the three of y'all. Wish everybody could be here every week, but you have lives to do. Sometimes I have to miss, but we love you guys, and we do this for the audience, for Chris Ellis, and for Pat Trammell, and Michael St. John, and producer Adam Dunn, and for all the Team Hales. I am Randy Hales, and Adam and I will figure out who won the contest, and we'll give you a message and let you know, and we'll send you a book. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. One quick question. Michael St. John, this is for you because I opened the show, did it yesterday by saying this. Hello, friends. I stole that from somebody. Who did I steal that from?
Ralph Emery?
Jim Nance.
Jim Nance. Okay. Hello. Okay. I'm not a big Jim Nance fan, but and God bless everybody. Thank you all so much. Thank you all. Thank you guys for being my friends, and thank you for being part of this. Love you guys.
Good night, everybody. We'll
Good night.
see you
everybody.
next time.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.